This is the BEnergyAware Podcast. Hi, and welcome to the BEnergyAware Podcast. As the year 2020 is coming to an end, I once again want to thank you for joining me here. Weekly episodes will continue in 2021, and my aim is to create more content that you can enjoy and also benefit from. Your feedback is much appreciated, so please let me know what you would like the future episodes to be about and how I can improve the content that I'm creating. Let me know what you like, what you don't like, and what you would like to have more of when listening to this podcast in the new year. Get in touch with me through Instagram at BEnergyAware or through my website, BEnergyAware.com. That's BEnergyAware.com. Thank you so much. In this episode, I am interviewed by Nihan Sevinc, an artist who communicates with nature through her highly sensitive gifts and creativity. We talk about my audiobook, Get Empowered, how it came about, what's in it, and how you can use everything that's in the book to improve your life.
Tell me about Get Empowered, the audiobook.
What I can say about the book is that everything I've learned and that I know and that I apply on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, consistently is in that book. All of those things, all of the tools, all of the concepts, all of the ideas, all of the healings, the energy work, the meditations, all of it is something that I'm still using. And I'm going to continue using because it's doing me a lot of good.
I'd like to hear more about how this book came together, this audiobook. You already had the tools and you were teaching people. And when you made the decision to share it with the world in an audiobook format.
Yeah, I have to say it's a result of working live with people and with groups of people, and also having one-on-one sessions with people as well. Once I realized what it can do, like whatever I was teaching, how it affects people in a good way, then I was like, okay, well, there's a definite purpose to me teaching this, and then it was asking for more. It was like, okay, let's put all this together. Let's see what you're using actually, because I was, like people would ask me questions. How did you achieve this? How do you do this? And how come you have that kind of energy, or how come you can be peaceful in this kind of situation? And many questions over the years, and I was like, okay, let me see, because I've kind of gotten used to using all of this that I'm not thinking about it. Like I'm not consciously thinking about that I need to do that. I just actually use it because it's been many years of actually using all those tools and ideas and concepts and healing techniques. And so when I started being asked more how I do things and what is it that I do, and to be asked to teach, then it was okay. I had to have a good look, and I had to make notes. Every day I had to make notes and see what is it that I'm using and what is it that I'm doing, and then I started writing it down, and it seemed like, okay, well, the material is coming together, and I didn't know what it's going to be. I didn't know if it's going to be a course or a book or an ebook, or I actually didn't know the ending result. I just knew that it was going to be helping people to just deal with the daily things, go through their life, I would say fully equipped to deal with things as they arise, and being able to be really present and really centered and really having the confidence to face things. And so I think that's, to me, that would be the point of this book, because this is how whatever is in the book helped me.
Well, if I may, I really appreciate having the audiobook because it's like a guide through my daily life. And it's really helped me over the years seeing your work and different pieces of it. Now having it all together, it feels really good to have that guidance. The format is really easy to listen to, and there are a lot of practices. What would be the most helpful way to go through the book?
It really depends if whoever's using the book, if they have any first-hand knowledge of energy work and healing, energy healing, and any kind of healing techniques or meditation techniques. So it really depends on that. If they already have some basics, like how to clear your energy, how to get grounded, how to protect your energy, those are, to me, those are like the bare basics. And then, it does get more complex later, because you're like towards the end of the book, it's more advanced stuff. And so if you already have the basics, well, maybe you can have a look at the basics and skim through them. It's good to go through them. I would still kindly suggest to go through them just in case. But some people might actually use just the last piece of the book, or start in the middle, or start in the second half, or something like that, if they've already kind of comfortable, if they've already mastered, I would even dare to say, the basics. I think it's up to everyone. You don't necessarily have to start at the beginning, but if you don't have the basics, then I would suggest, yes, start from like the very first page and go through the whole book page by page. That is chapter by chapter as an audiobook.
The chapters start teaching about becoming aware of energy, and they build on each other, like you said. How does being aware of energy help in daily life?
So if a person first of all learns how to read energy, that gives them an advantage. They can tune into people, that they can tune into situations, and most of all, I think that learning to read energy makes a person get in touch with themselves and in touch with their intuition. Because to read energy, we need to rely on many of our senses. And so we just need to reconnect with ourselves, whether we want it or not, whether we like it or not in the moment. So I would say start to meditate. And then set intentions to get in touch with yourself. And that would be the really number one thing that I would suggest here. And to go back to your question, which was,
how does being aware of energy help in daily life?
So it makes life easier. It just makes life so much easier. You go out and you need to go and you sit in your car, you get in your car and you have to go shopping, or you go visit a friend. And then, of course, you can use GPS, you can use Google Maps, you can use whatever you want. But what is the best way to get there? How are you gonna know? The maps say one thing, but how are you feeling about taking this street or going this route? Or it's about, I think it comes down to reading energies, having your own map according to your own specifications of what you prefer or you don't prefer, what you dislike, what resonates with you. How do you feel about this, or how do you feel about that? What is your intuition saying about taking this street or taking that street, or going this way or that way? And then if you use your senses to read into the energy of this direction or that direction, it's going to tell you something, and you're going to be able to choose better for yourself.
Now I'm curious, I hear this a lot from people, and I'm sure you might have from your students. How do I know which one to pick? How do I trust that? Mm-hmm. And you were talking about intuition here, so this is just a little segue into how to trust the intuition. Just want to bring the conversation to now, at this time, and how wonderful it would be for all of us to make choices based on that, being able to trust our intuition.
It comes down to practicing. The more you use your intuition, the more you use these tools, the more you actually get to practice, and the more confident you get. You're experimenting and you're observing yourself and you're observing the results. So if you start getting good results, well, that's a good sign. Well, you're going to know. Like I always say, if you make a decision that's not aligned with yourself and you're not paying attention to your intuition, well, that can backfire on you. That may not end up that well. And then you know. And it's not a big deal. Like providing there's not a big backlash. But you get to practice. Without practicing, you don't know. And you're not able to get so in tune with yourself and in tune and in touch with your intuition to be able to trust it. So practice, 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 practice. Observe, observe, observe. Pay attention to what happens. And then you know.
I'll share a little anecdote. When I started using the audiobook and doing the exercises, I gave myself plenty of time. I would focus on one topic each week. And I remember telling you at some point, oh, I'm just getting this beautiful energy and it's so peaceful. This is so wonderful. And you said, well, that's you. That is your energy. You finally know what your energy feels like. That was so new for me. And today I was going through the chapters again, listening to some of them, and I realized, okay, it's my time again to take that kind of time with each topic, with each chapter, and allow myself to practice, to renew my practices of the tools in the audiobook. And that's when I remembered it. It was really funny because when you said it's your energy, I thought, well, no, it isn't. This is different. Then I realized, oh, I was taking on everything, thinking that things were mine, and getting into a lot of struggle. Whereas, well, if this is my energy, then what would it take me to create a life where I'm always in this energy? Practicing, yes, but then also what would I choose?
Yeah, and this is exactly what I've just said. Yeah, you're just confirming that. Because we get to choose. We get to know the difference and then we choose. Yeah, and hopefully we choose better for ourselves. Having this knowledge and this insight and the skills and yeah, just it's a different perspective. It's a very nice overview of things. Yeah, it's kind of we have everything in sight and almost labeled, and then we get to choose, okay, this goes there, this goes here, or I'm choosing this or I'm not choosing that. I'm just gonna leave this aside. And yeah, because there's so many decisions that we need to make every day, and hopefully each time we make them, we're going to check in with ourselves first, use our intuition, use our knowledge of energy and reading into energy, and yeah, and decide what's best for us, and always decide, always make a slightly better decision than before, at least slightly better.
You talk about choosing a more nourishing environment for ourselves, and if we can, creating that environment for ourselves. What's a nourishing environment for you?
Well, I need a lot of time for myself, a lot of peaceful time. And so it's up to me to create that for myself in any way I can, within the life circumstances and the conditions that I'm living in. And yeah, so whatever the need is, so if I'm checking in with myself, I know exactly how much time I need to take. And that's time just by myself, not doing anything. Maybe not even, I don't have an idea what I'm going to do. I'm just going to be with myself. And I've seen for a lot of people that it's a new concept. And to me, it's normal because I've been doing it for years. And it really, really just makes a huge difference for me. I wouldn't be able to do without having that time just for myself, not necessarily needing to do any specific thing. And any day, any time. So I do my best to take that time for myself every day. It doesn't really matter how much time. If I take it regularly and consistently, it doesn't need to be a lot of time, actually. But if I don't take it, then all of a sudden I need a whole day, or 2 days, or 3 or 4 days. You know what I mean? So I don't want to do that to myself. I actually want to move forward being functional and productive and living my life and doing things that I want to be doing, that I love doing. And so if I am consistent and I do a little bit on a daily basis and take that time for myself, that would be self-care and nourishment. That's a good example of that. Just taking those, like stopping everything and just taking 5 minutes to sit down or to lie down on my bed. And then, yeah, the nourishment is there consistently, daily. And if I'm doing more things, and if they're demanding and challenging on any specific day, yes, then I'll have to take a day off or 2 days off that week. And maybe that same day when I'm doing those things, I'm going to take an hour or two just to do nothing and be with myself. This is my nourishment time. This is my self-care time. And it's literally doing nothing. Just being with myself. Just spending time with myself.
Chapter 17, Energetic Safety in Public Spaces.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think for highly sensitive people, it's a matter of survival. I think it's a matter of survival. Going into a mall when it's crowded can really, really overwhelm people. And yeah, it's hard to cope for most highly sensitive people. So with this chapter, I wanted to help highly sensitive people especially, but everyone else as well can use this. Because it's not that they don't go affected, maybe they're not as aware as much as a highly sensitive person would be. So there's a way that we can actually go to public places and spaces and be in crowds of people and feel comfortable and feel safe and not getting overwhelmed, not getting anxious, not feeling other people's feelings, not getting ungrounded, not being dizzy, not feeling sick. Like we can actually feel good. And better than that, having these tools that are in the audiobook, knowing to differentiate between the energies, knowing how to protect ourselves, knowing how to ground ourselves, and so on. We might have gotten used to not going to the mall or not going to crowded spaces and places, then maybe we think we don't even want to do it anymore. But what if we could? And what if we could be safe and feel good and enjoy being out there? Shopping, whether it's shopping or going to see a movie or going to a concert, anything, like any kind of gathering would be a good example.
Even right now, I feel really grateful to be practicing these tools. I went to the grocery store the other day and I was thinking of this chapter because there were people around me, and maybe without the tools I would be extra anxious, but I was actually really calm, given the pandemic and everything. I was really calm. It was crowded. And I was proud of myself because I was aware of my own energy. I was aware of where I was. I was really present and grounded. But I was also able to access my intuition and make choices based on it. Okay, which is the safer aisle to take? Is there anything else I need to do? Do I touch this? I was able to make these split-second decisions based on my intuition rather than second-guessing myself or going into worry and fear. So I felt really proud. And of course, I didn't spend an hour there, but I felt proud of myself because I know a time where I would have had a meltdown because of the added anxiety, and I wouldn't be able to connect with my intuition. I would probably choose not to go to the grocery store at all because I wouldn't be able to handle it. So I know the difference myself.
Yeah. But what I'm mostly talking about in the book are just the basics.
Yeah.
So if we have the basics, so what you've just mentioned is like advanced. So we don't even need to go that far. If we're able to be grounded, energetically protected, and not taking on someone else's energy, we're good. That's it. And then, of course, if we keep checking in with ourselves and use our intuition, yes, we can make other choices and make better decisions within our more public space experience, of course, but that's an add-on. So what I'm talking about is just really being able to walk in and feel good in the first place. So if we walk into a mall hungry, we're in trouble. By the time we get to the food court and order, we're going to be a mess because we get ungrounded when we're hungry. More easily we get ungrounded. More easily we can pick up all the other energies around us and even take them on. And our body is not that capable of defending itself from all those different kinds of energies. So yes, we can still, even without the skills and the level of awareness, we can still sabotage ourselves this way if we don't apply self-care. So always have water, always have a healthy snack, healthy lifestyle, common sense type of approach. So we do need to nourish ourselves, and self-care is the basis for anything, even for going shopping.
You got me thinking about the vicious cycle that you mentioned in the book. And the specific example that I will give, say I'm hungry and I missed that window of awareness where I'm actually hungry, I can do something about it. And I know in my case, if I can't tell it, if I don't take care of it, it's very easy sometimes to jump into, if I'm in a public space especially, to jump into, what is wrong with me? Everything's the worst. And then get into a spiral of thoughts and emotions. And before you know, I must get out, but I must also take time off and I'm going to have a meltdown. That's just my example. But yeah, let's talk about the vicious cycle.
Well, the vicious cycle is something that happens periodically, and we don't have to be in a public space for it to happen. I would call it, if we would look at it from the other side, it's a healing cycle. Because we go through these healing cycles, and at one point in time, everything kind of amps itself up, and then we need to deal with it. And then what can happen, and why I call it the vicious cycle, is when we've been triggered by trigger for, I don't know, a certain amount of days, a certain amount of weeks, and so on, and it goes unattended, and then it builds up into this huge explosion. But by the vicious cycle, I mean it's the cycle between the mind and our emotions. Because then, in that case, when it's too much, when it goes unattended, when those triggers go unattended, so meaning first trigger happens, we don't actually stop and say, oh, what's going on? Why am I being triggered? What am I feeling? How am I, what's going on? And then we deal with it. But if many of those happen and we don't actually sort them out, feel to heal, or whatever we need to do, we don't know, it really depends on each of the triggers, then they build up into this boom. And what happens then, before the explosion actually, is that the feelings are going to trigger negative thinking, and negative thinking is going to trigger more of those low vibration emotions that can pull us down. And then They keep triggering one another until we just crash. And so this is, we're talking about a meltdown. We could also be talking about a breakdown or even a nervous breakdown. Even it can cause many things in different people. But what I'm saying with the vicious cycle is it can be stopped. And first of all, it can be stopped in time, before the explosion, before the meltdown, before the breakdown. If we don't catch it in time, being aware that it's happening makes a big difference. Because then we know, sometimes when it's happening, we don't know what's going on. Then we're in this place, we don't know what's wrong. We know something's up, but we're not. It's the worst place to be in. And so then we need to, okay, if I'm thinking negatively and I'm feeling like this and I keep thinking negative, okay, so I'm already there. Okay, so what do I do? So then we have a list of things, and I talk about it in the audiobook. We make a list of things, and there's a list that I've been mentioning and suggesting, and then everyone can make their own, that we can do and implement those things in that moment to get ourselves out of that cycle and avoid that crash. So we actually don't need to have any meltdowns. And I know it's going to be a surprise for a lot of people right now in 2020, but in 2050, it might be a much more normal thing to not have meltdowns because of the awareness. Raising the awareness is really important. So if we can actually, first of all, start noticing the triggers and tending to them timely, then we're not going to even have that meltdown, and less likely that the vicious cycle is going to get triggered, the brain and emotions cycle. But once it's there, it's hard to get out of it. And so I give suggestions in the audiobook how to get out of it. The point is to be able to do something that makes us feel good, that gets our mind, our brain to stop thinking, and so that we refocus ourselves, get away from that thing that's troubling us, and just start to feel good. Whatever we need to do. And it'll be different. There'll be different lists for each person. But there needs to be something, some safety in place, just in case we find ourselves already there and we need to do something about it. And none of the healing tools are going to work. Feeling to heal is not going to work in that case. It's too late. We're already in big trouble, so the only way to get out of it is, I normally do something physical. I go for a run, I go for a walk, I start singing, I start dancing. I do something to shift my energy. And this is the other thing that's in the audiobook. It's not just about how to ground yourself, how to protect your energy, how to clear your energy and clean your energy. It's also about how to shift your energy. And so in this chapter about the vicious cycle, I talk about how actually we can consciously shift our energy.
I remember the first time I heard you say, you don't have to have meltdowns. And I thought, what do you mean? Are they optional? Nobody told me that before. I thought meltdowns were part of who I was.
It's you see, I'm not blaming people. So we're not choosing to have a meltdown. Meltdowns choose us if we're not careful. That's how I would put it. So no one is to blame here. It's just we need to really be aware what goes into having a meltdown and why it happens.
And I think that's the thing, because I had never thought of meltdowns as something that I could be aware of and take action to shift.
Yeah. So it's one of two things. It's going to be a bunch of piled up emotions or feelings that we haven't felt, and we've pushed them aside. So they're piling up, and they're gonna catch up with us. So that's what goes into meltdown. That's one reason, and the other biggest reason is, again, triggers going unattended, lack of self-nourishment, lack of taking time for ourselves, then we're going to have a meltdown. Because the child within us needs that nourishment, needs that time with us. And of course, they are the ones that actually need to feel and release that feeling, because it's from the past. Most likely, in most cases, it's from the past. Anything new that comes, we already, now with this awareness from the audiobook, we actually are going to know how not to create those bags of feelings and emotions that are going to catch up with us and pull us down, that are going to burden us. So yeah, I think going back to meltdowns, 2 reasons. Piling up of emotions, not taking time to feel and nourish ourselves, and the other thing is triggers going unnoticed.
The audiobook really is helping first releasing and clearing decades of those triggers and unfelt emotions that we may have gathered, but at the same time making sure that we're not continuing to accumulate those, that we're able to deal with them as they occur in the moment. And I like how it's piecemeal, it doesn't have to be it used to be, when I looked at myself, it used to be, oh, there's all this work that I have to do to feel better. But now the audiobook really narrows it down to daily habits and daily practices.
Yeah, it really does. It's about putting everything into practice. It's not one of those books where you read it and you're enlightened. It's about applying. So this is one of the episodes on the podcast as well. Practical enlightenment. And this is it. This is the challenging part here. Learning them is easy. Implementing is challenging. And so I don't think it comes down to discipline or anything like that, because that already has that harder, harsh feel to it. I think it's just about going back to that place of self-care and self-nourishment, and then from there slowly applying little by little and getting used to it's building new habits. And that's all it is. Once we build those habits, they're there. We don't even think about them anymore. We just do it. And we do ourselves a big favor by doing it.
Chapter 27, The Subconscious Mind and How to Reprogram It.
Yes. Sometimes the subconscious can be easy to get, because sometimes we're going to hear ourselves say something over and over again every day in a certain situation, and it's kind of there, and it's, why is it there? And it may have it's a little bit of a downer. It doesn't lift things up. It kind of pulls things down. And so that might be, sometimes it's as obvious as that. So if we're saying a certain line or a sentence, that might be that exact subconscious belief that's back there in the subconscious. We're already saying it out, playing it out, living it, and we're not aware that it's there, but it comes from the subconscious. So that's an obvious one. The not so obvious one is when we're walking down the street and someone approaches us, or they don't even have to approach us. We hear 2 people talking, and we don't like there's a certain energy around them that doesn't feel that good, and then we hear them saying a phrase. One of them says a phrase, and it kind of sticks. That phrase sticks in our head, and we actually, whatever that person said, that might be the subconscious belief that we have. So that's in between. And then the really obvious one, you're meeting with a group of friends, and they call you out on something, and it doesn't feel good, and they're saying something, it might be a phrase again, but it really sticks in your head and it really hurts you, and it feels so negative. It just doesn't feel right. And it's very likely that that's a subconscious belief that you have.
I'd like to focus on the first part, the first kind. These things we're thinking and acting on and taking as life as it is. This is how I always do this. And for example, for me, I'm always like this. I'm not good. I'm not an athletic person. I'm really clumsy. I'm always, I don't know if that would count.
Oh yes, it would count.
So for years and years, I had this belief that I'm not athletic, I'm really clumsy. And I would have this fear in, PE classes or whenever there was a physical activity to do. I just would go into this because I believed this and I said it out loud for years. Then one day, a few years ago, I actually realized, well, what if that's not true? Or what if, even if it's true, is there something I can do about it? And this is before I knew how to work with the subconscious mind. But I took a leap of faith and I started taking some classes, kickboxing. And my instructor said, you're actually very athletic, you're really good. And I said, well, that can't be true. And I hurt myself in that moment because I thought, this can't be true. So that really got me to question, well, if that's not true, then wait a minute. So I'm realizing the first example you give, I made a life out of it. But now I'm realizing I am actually, my body's really capable of that. Of course, it takes practice and everything to become more athletic, but it's not the opposite. It's not that I'm not athletic or I'm clumsy.
Yeah, so you had a belief that you're not. And so this is an obvious one, and many times it'll be like this, that we actually are not realizing how many of those we can have until we're actually in a situation when someone says the opposite. Like in your case, they actually said that you're actually athletic. Wow, that's new, huh? Because you thought you weren't. So this is a subconscious. I would even say this is a program. This is a subconscious program. This goes deeper than the belief. And sometimes it's genetic, and sometimes there are different ways we end up having it. We can pick it up. We can get it from our parents. There are many ways to get that subconscious belief or that program deeply ingrained into our system. And so this is a good one. I always remember, I think I mentioned it in the podcast as well in one of the episodes, is that I still remember this very nice lady saying, I don't have one creative bone in my body. And everything around her house, her garden, the way she does things, the way she puts things, the way she creates things, the way she's an artist. And she's saying that she doesn't have one creative bone in her body, and it didn't make sense. I was like, what? And then I realized, okay, so this is it. So her mom might have been thinking the same. And then now she's thinking the same. Like that, there can be genetics, there can be things passed on to us from our parents, from our family, and so on. And sometimes from our friends, sometimes from the environment. We can pick it up in the news, on TV, from anywhere. And then if we accept it as a reality, then it's our reality. And that's the key thing here. It really doesn't matter what we were saying just earlier. What matters is whenever we find out about a subconscious belief that we have, we have a choice of removing it or accepting it as our reality. Or we can let it go and exchange it for some other belief that might be better, way better.
Accepting as our reality. That's a really good way of putting it. And so, using the tools, we're actually able to question that, release it, reprogram the mind. I am just thinking about the kind of freedom that gives.
Yeah, it is a freedom that we gain from it. Because we can remove any subconscious belief. Absolutely any. And yeah, and have a, like, instead of that belief, have a much better one. That's a positive one. That's a very different kind of reality than that old, not so good one. And yeah, so if we're thinking about how we're doing it, it really comes down again to the basic tool, in the book, and that's setting intentions. And we simply set an intention to read the belief that we have, or if we're already aware of the belief, then we just, okay, that's that belief. We can say it out loud. We don't have to say it out loud. And then we think, okay, what is the opposite of that? What's the better belief? What's the, like if you had that you're not athletic, then you would have that you are athletic. And then you're quite athletic even. And so I see the energy of that is comparing to, oh, I'm not athletic. It's a down. So, and this, well, I am athletic and I'm quite athletic. And even when we just say it, it just feels better, way better. Anyway, going back to intention. So we set an intention to let go of that one. Again, setting intentions is like making a command. So it's like almost like pressing a start button. And so when we press the button, as we set an intention, and this device, I call it a little energetic device, executes the command that we give it. And so if we set an intention to let go of the old belief that's not serving us or that we don't like anymore, then we want to get rid of, then we just set an intention to let go of it. We breathe deeply as that energetic device does that for us. And then we really feel when it's gone. And then we set an intention to invite that the opposite belief. I am athletic, and I'm quite athletic. Those are two beliefs. And then we just embrace those. Again, we breathe, and we are ready to receive those. And as we breathe, it starts to integrate with our energy within our energy field. And then not only do we get it as a subconscious positive belief, we also get it as a conscious belief, because now we've very consciously reprogrammed ourselves. So that's a big deal. That's why I love the subconscious belief work, because as much as it's subconscious and many times it's hidden, there's much awareness that needs to go into discovering the belief, realizing, oh, I don't like this, that this doesn't really work for me. Okay, and I can actually choose a better reality. Wow, I can actually choose this better thing. And then with setting intentions and all of that, and goes back to meditation, a little bit of a centeredness and a meditative state as we breathe deeply. And then once we feel it's integrated and it stays with us. Unless, again, we choose not to have it as our reality and invite the old one back. But anyone who really wants to get rid of an old negative belief is not going to invite it back. So I think most people will be okay with this. So this would be advanced. Mm-hmm. So this is advanced when you're already comfortable checking in with yourself, trusting your intuition, applying all the basic tools. This is advanced, and anyone can apply it anytime, but you need to be comfortable with applying it and using it as such. Yeah, it's good to be able to have those basics covered first before doing the subconscious belief work. I would recommend that.
What is the point of healing and self-healing?
Well, to me, it's it's about exactly about, I think, yeah, for me, it's about creating that life that I want and that I feel I deserve. And to know that I can be creative and have fun creating and be true to myself and do things my way and honor myself and be who I really am in the world, being well and thriving. To me, it's to be able to live, to use all these tools means, to me, means having more of what I want in life. And this is getting me there. And this is creating that kind of reality for me. So this is why I do it. I mean, we want to feel better. We want to do things better in life. We want to, sometimes we want to achieve big things. So it is about that. It's also about something else. I think it's about self-acknowledgement as well. So to be able to use all these tools, we need to really sit down with ourselves, find out a lot about ourselves and get clear on things. What we like, what we don't like, what we want, what we don't want. What is that? What's aligned with us? Who are we? What's our essence? What's at the core of ourselves that we want to have more of in our life and be that person in the world and thrive at the same time and have that life that we deserve. So those are the things that motivate me to do more of this work.
I used to wonder, doing a lot of inner work, using different types of modalities and practices. There came a point in my life where I was asking, okay, I can keep doing these, but what am I getting out of this? This could be a life, that's great. And I thought, okay, I would be happy with that, but what's beyond that? And when I looked at you and your creativity, what you're sharing with the world, and your music, that really, I started getting curious, like, oh, wait a minute, so there's a life beyond this. That was a big wake-up call, actually. And in the audiobook, you mention a life where we're thriving. And for a long time, I don't think I could imagine that for myself, because I didn't understand what that could entail for me, and using the tools and being really in touch with myself. Now I'm, discovering that. So it's really good to have examples of that in the world. Highly sensitive people, highly creative people, being clear on it and creating the life that is for them and sharing their gifts in the way that work for them. Yeah. So thank you for that.
Yeah,
for
you're
being
welcome.
that in the world and sharing the tools to become that ourselves, our own version of it. So how do all the tools come together?
Well, at the end of the book, the last two chapters are, there's a quick healing and a more in-depth healing. And the idea was just, that whenever, we go through a day, and whenever we feel any discomfort, or where we just feel we could use some good energy, then we can give ourselves that quick healing. And there's a audio track, where I guide you through that quick healing. Same with the in-depth healing, which is the next chapter. The next track is where I walk you step by step through setting up from the grounding, from the protective bubble of energy to being connected to the energy of the earth, to just receiving the energy as well through the crown chakra and filling yourself up with energy and so on, setting up your space around you, clearing your energy field, and then going into whatever's troubling you, basically, and going into the energy of it, and seeing what that is, and then guiding you through step by step again, through getting to the bottom of it as much as you're ready for on any given day, and releasing as much of the old energy and the energy of trauma or any negative energy that's there within your energy field. The more in-depth healing, the longer one, the deeper one, is when you have more time, of course, to sit down undisturbed. But the quick healing can be done anywhere, anytime, very easily, very efficiently, very quickly. So I think those are, and this is where all the tools from the book come together. All of the chapters come together into this one, well, two practical things that I'm not able to do without, because we all need healing. We're all going to continue to need healing. And I felt this was the best way I can contribute, because I still use those. It's not, I haven't, I've made them for myself as well. Yeah, again, I'm hoping that they're going to help a lot of people.
So do you actually listen to your own audiobook?
Sometimes I do, yes. Sometimes where I feel I need guidance myself and a reminder of the steps within the healing. Yeah, if something's really troubling, I'm gonna use it as a guide track for myself. Yes.
In the audiobook, there are these tracks at the end, these two of them, and then there are exercises. Especially if I remember correctly, in the subconscious chapter, you actually walk people through.
Oh, yes.
How to do it themselves,
exactly,
right? Yeah, I thought it's worth mentioning.
Yes,
yeah.
Definitely about the subconscious mind as well. Yes, how to clear, how to change the subconscious beliefs. Yes, how to reprogram it. How to reprogram the subconscious mind. Yes. The exercises at the end of the audiobook. What I wanted to avoid is after each chapter to give exercises, because I actually wanted the chapters to flow nicely one into another and into each other. And so all the exercises from all the chapters are actually in the last chapter, lined up one after another. So if you've lost sight, if you by some chance lose sight of what you went through, there's everything there for you. My suggestions for what to do every day, one by one, to practice this, to practice that, and they're in the same order that the chapters are, basically. And yeah, I think there's a reason why I left them for the ending. There's a lot to digest, but if you feel like after a certain chapter you need to stop and practice that, then I would, if you stop after chapter about reading your own energy, reading energy in general, then, and you decide to take 5 days or a week or 2 weeks, maybe more, just to spend some time practicing this, then yes, you can go to the last chapter, exercises, and have a look at those exercises, of course. Why I put them in the end, again, is because it's very short. The audiobook is relatively short. It's not even 2 hours of material, of recorded material. So so I think, I wanted to give people a chance to go through it in one go. Would I recommend it? I wouldn't. I would say take your time and stop and practice for as long as you need to before moving on to the next chapter.
Get Empowered is an audiobook, and it's also a collection of practices and exercises, as well as guided practices. So there's a lot of room to play there. Go back to the book, pick the favorite exercises that you want to focus on for the week, or go in, perhaps sometimes even in a state of emergency where the emotions are coming up, and then we can just go to the parts where it's about feeling and healing and do that guided practice. So there are so many different ways.
Yeah, again, the point is to, with time, to apply everything from the book every day. Yeah, starting very first thing in the morning. And like I said, by the time these habits are developed, it's not going to feel like any kind of chore. And to me, it never was, because I wanted to feel better. I wanted to move forward. I wanted to be more functional. I wanted to heal. So to me, it's just, yeah, that's why it still took time to really integrate everything and to consistently apply, and then to just make it a habit of applying all of those.
It's really delightful to do these practices and exercises and feel the delightful energy. And then the next time it makes it easier the next morning to get up and do it. I really enjoy being in that place. And when I haven't done them for a few days, if I haven't done them, then of course my mind starts resisting. Oh, why do I have to do this? But I know, as soon as I start meditating, or as soon as I maintain my energetic field, everything will shift. So the audiobook is available on Amazon and other platforms, but on your website there is the bonus edition.
Yeah, about the bonuses. First one is creating a life that works. So this is where, again, it's one of those tracks that you can listen to over and over again to help you really create the life that you want, and really with energy. And you remove a lot of energy when listening to it, and you create a lot of good energy when listening to it. So hopefully it helps you create the life that you want. Then there's letting go of fear. There's also something about the internal attitude that I talk about that you can always use to turn things into your advantage. So letting go of fear. And why I've put this attitude next to the fear, because many times we're going to be scared to do the thing that we need to do for ourselves, and like to have this, almost like a warrior type of attitude that kind of, sometimes that alone is enough to just clear off some negative energy that's around us, but definitely can get us through stuff. Then having our needs met, well, that's again really letting go of everything that might be in the way of having our needs met. So if you're listening to this, you just let go of a lot of stuff that's in your way. And then there's there are energetic downloads here, plenty of energetic support here, again guided. I would highly recommend. This is a really good one. And then worthy, deserving, and good enough. Well, who doesn't need that? I mean, we can always use more of that, just for raising self-worth and self-confidence. You can listen to this anytime, over and over again, as much as you need to. And then the last one is highly sensitive person strategies for dealing with anger. And that's not an audio, that's a PDF. And this is taken from I had one group call a couple of years back, and we talked 2 hours, at least 2 hours, about how to best deal with anger. And this is a big thing, because I kept hearing and seeing highly sensitive people have trouble with anger and not knowing how to deal with it. Like, there was one person that said, like, that they just cannot handle that much anger. They're just shut down. They completely cannot function. They cannot, the word was, they cannot control themselves. And then they do things that they don't want to be doing when that anger hits. So this is what's in this PDF, is different ways to approaching anger and different ways of dealing with anger. So everyone can find at least something that could work for them or get ideas that can help them to better deal with anger, because it can be a big issue especially for highly sensitive people.
So in the bonus edition, there's the audiobook, these bonus support audios, and the PDF about strategies for dealing with anger for highly sensitive people. And the text version of the audiobook?
Yeah, there's an ebook. Like I said, it's just there thrown in if you want that as extra support to read through. It's not necessary. So you can get the audiobook, with the bonuses, or you can. Well, this was designed for people who already, I guess, separately bought the audiobook on Amazon. And then you can get the ebook here as well as in one package, and then you can get everything, the audiobook, the bonuses, and the ebook all in one. The audiobook and the bonus content, then the ebook and the bonus content for those who already bought the audiobook. And then there's the separately for those who bought the audiobook and want the bonuses, they have the bonuses separately. And then the bonus edition everything bundle, which is the audiobook, the ebook, and the bonus content all together.
The listeners can go to BEnergyAware.com.
Yeah, BEnergyAware.com/shop.
Final question. Are you offering any one-on-one or group work lately?
Yes, I have started again. I took some time away to get clear on my life priorities and how I want to go back to doing music. And I was creating the audiobook at the same time. So I kind of stopped doing those live events for a while. And yes, now I'm starting to get back, and there'll be, I think, at least a couple of times a year, there'll be an online workshop. Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to those live, because yeah, I just love doing live group work, and I just love teaching and working with energy and helping people. And yeah, I'm looking forward to those. And so probably beginning of the year somewhere, then maybe in the spring, and one in the fall. Probably 2 or 3 workshops a year, online workshops. And I am available again, especially as of New Year 2021. I'll definitely be more available for one-on-one sessions. Thank you for listening. Please leave a review on Apple Podcasts. That means a lot to me. Also, let me know if you have any thoughts or suggestions about the new podcast episodes. Any ideas for themes or titles, just let me know. And let me know if you have any favorite episodes out of those that you've listened to this year. Which one did you like the best? Your feedback is much appreciated. Message me on Instagram at BEnergyAware or through my website, BEnergyAware.com. And please subscribe and share this podcast with your friends. I'm Bran, your host, and I'll talk to you again next Friday.